2, 1. And welcome everybody to Splinter Talk. We are now at episode 11? Yes, episode 11. We hit double digits last week. We are now at 11, and we have some amazing guests here today to duke it out here on a very, very red, bloody, sad crypto week. So lots to talk about. There are some cool things to talk about with Splinterlands updates coming, but also probably a lot of sadness and depression out there. So maybe we will bring a little joy, a little relief. I don't know. Who knows? But we'll kick it off here with Steve. Welcome back for whatever it is, like the 6th time now, maybe.
Maybe.
How have you been since you've been on last? I think it's a couple weeks.
I've been tired. I haven't been making as many videos, so I apologize to people. I haven't been keeping up on things. I have a few giveaways to catch up on. I am going to do my big giveaway stream hopefully this weekend and give away like 20 packs and a land for a different game. It's not an exciting land yet.
And sandbox. It's just the sandbox land, right?
No.
Like a giant 12 by 12 plot you're giving away.
It's that Nintita land that I haven't really got many people into, but there's a few people because it's really cheap. You can get into it very cheaply, but it doesn't earn very much.
Well,
but overall, I've just been I've been playing a lot of the Gala stuff. I streamed the Spider Tanks thing. I did the I play the Town Star still. They're doing Mayhem. They were giving away all that money. I did some videos on that. And now I'm exhausted because they asked us to play way too much. And it reminded me why I like Splinterlands so much, because you can play really quick, not a lot of problems, 3-minute matches. It's fun. It doesn't really, make you push like they did over there.
Yeah, people wonder why do people do scholarships and guilds and all this stuff? It's like, well, you try playing 10 different games that all expect you to play for 2 hours a day to get your full return. It's like, it adds up quickly if you're into too many projects. But yeah, good to have you back, Steve. Good to hear from you. We also have, I think just the second time now, we have Cryptmancer on, who has been flying off the charts on YouTube, creating some good, juicy drama, healthy drama. Maybe discussion's a better word, but Cryptmancer, how are you doing?
I am doing good, and like you said, I'm just making up for Steve's lack of videos. I'm trying to keep the community whole here. So, but no, it's been good. And actually, Steve, thanks for turning me on to Spider Tanks. I got a little bit less sleep last week because of Mayhem, thanks to you. But I also got some extra Gala tokens in my account. So yeah, it's all good.
Sweet. Well, glad to have you back on, and we'll get to your videos later because I think they've. I joke about the drama part of it, but I think they have actually created some really good discussion, and you've provided some great data and facts for us to maybe talk over tonight and get the community's thoughts as well. So thank you for being here. And our last guest, the most famous one of us all, it is Jarvie from Peak Monsters, the creator, founder, right? You're the founder?
Yeah, there's two of us.
Okay, cool. This is your first time on the show, but I hope people have seen you around on Peak Monsters or have seen some of the other interviews you've done. But it's fun to have you on the show finally, so thank you for dropping by. And as you're on, I want to get your Splinterlands story. So first, tell us, how did you start playing Splinterlands? Where did you find it? And then, what was the point where you're like, I should make a secondary market for this game?
In December of 2017 and then just January 2018, I started using Steam, posting. I'm a photographer. I've been a photographer for 13 years up until last year. And so I was posting posts and earning a little bit of crypto, and had an old roommate that did a documentary called Life on Bitcoin. And so I was, tried to see if I was any good at trading, swing trading. And I spent dozens, if not hundreds of hours learning about it. Decided I didn't have the aptitude for it, but I learned all about it. So when I joined with my business partner, Asgarth, and he started to create what was then Steam Peak, I jumped into that team because I love creating. And then it was a few months later that there was a couple other people on that blockchain that were like, we're going to create a game. And I was like, well, I got some of this Hive tokens. So when it launched, I grabbed a few packs of back then Steam Monsters. And then we had a few packs, and we were like, I don't know if you were there, Steve, but we were like, you know, giving them back and forth. I remember someone was like opening tons of them and had tons of commons. We didn't know what price they were. They didn't have stats really on them at all. We didn't know what a legendary could go for. And these commons, I remember buying thousands of like alpha commons for like, we do something like, here, if you want to buy 5,000 of these, we'll give it to you. And it ended up being like 2 to 3 cents a piece. And and I was like, okay, I didn't have a lot of money, you know, that I was investing towards this sort of thing. And I was like, that was all right. And I was like really bummed one time when I bought like a bunch of beta gold foils for like $300 a piece. And then it tanked for a while. They were like $100, $200. But now it's fine. Anyways, and so then because we had, it was later in that year, we had our blogging platform going decently well, and we had a little bit of time where I said, Asgarth, would you be willing to create a marketplace for this game? They don't have one. They don't have a marketplace really, and they're creating a protocol. And he's like, yeah, that's good. So I think our launched right around the same time, maybe theirs did or whatever, but they couldn't really do anything on theirs. Almost at all. Like it was very, very minimal what you could do on their website. So we had the main marketplace, and there was a couple others that have come and gone, and we've just stuck around.
Nice. So is your perspective now, like, are you still playing the game a bunch? Is this mostly like, I'm just doing this as a job now? Like, are you in love with Splinterlands? Like, what is the perspective grown to for you?
I feel like I say this now. I didn't want to say this back then. I say that I played a lot back then, but it wasn't that fun. So I let other people play it. And I rented out cards, or I let someone like use my cards because there wasn't a rental thing necessarily back then. And I didn't really enjoy it a ton, but I say that because I've played more in the last few like months or weeks than I've ever played, and I'm actually enjoying it now. I feel like it's like a level of competition that makes me feel like when I win, I'm like, oh, this is great. Or I'm playing against a lot of bots that have very subpar cards, so I enjoy winning like at like an 80-90% rate till I get to the top leaderboard, and that's fun.
What level do you play at right now? Like, what is your rating?
I feel most
Diamond champion, or
I feel most comfortable in Silver League. I play a little bit in Gold League. I usually play with my Gold Foil account. Like I can't play with a lot of accounts, so and when I'm playing in brawls, I'm usually playing I don't know, bronze or silver. But recently, I'm like, oh, let's try this. It's too complex for me with all these things. When you get to like max level cards, they do like 20 things, and it's like the loading screen when everything's going on, it's like now it does this and now it does this and now it does this, and I'm like, I'm used to like silver when it's like there's less variables to have to worry about. And I've been playing a lot, and I actually am like, I was having a really hard time on like the leaderboard of gold, so I'm just like, whatever, I'm just gonna go to diamond. So, and I was like, oh, I guess it's all right. It's decently fun until you get to the high leagues, and everyone's like, okay.
Until Sleeve slaps you back down to reality. Is that it's all Steve's fault?
Yeah, right, man. Champion. I still don't have the modern yet, so I just fight against those beta summoners all day that I don't have and cry. I'm like, I hate those cards.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, Jarvie, it's great to have you here. Oh, go ahead.
I bought a Zaku, and I've used him for the very first time. I bought a Zaku and a couple others. They're not cheap in gold foil, so. Yeah, but with bids, they were $1,000 off. So
nice. And Jotun's actually dropped quite a bit. I don't know. It was actually before the Reflect Shield news was revealed this last Monday. But even if you look at the chart over the last probably month, he's really come down quite a bit over his historic pricing, even with the dip in the market. So it's been interesting. Definitely still obviously a really solid card.
Yeah, I mean, I would use a maxed out legendary one if If I could get my hands on one,
I
which
don't
I
have
won't.
cards anymore. It's
I've only got one of
Hollister.
those, Luke. Sorry.
Wink, wink. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Jarvie, it's great to have you here. I'm really interested to hear more about your story and some of the perspectives that you get from being a maker of one of these secondary markets. But first, before we get into all this, like, hey, crypto is down, Splinterlands, delays, blah, 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 all those, negative things that I feel like we have to keep talking about because we haven't seen those bullish updates. But we at least have had a little bit of eye candy this week and a little bit of talk of a new ability. So first up, I just want to get you guys' thoughts. I know you guys can't see my screen, but thoughts about the eye candy that they revealed. We got a new reward card. They let us choose different ones. They got the chests that look, in my opinion, a heck of a lot better than they did before. We got dropped the wallpaper with a ton of different reward card looks. And then the bronze medal animation, the blossom animation, validator nodes, and some of the legendary summoners. So there's a ton of eye candy. What were your guys' reactions to what they dropped in this last town hall?
The art's a lot better than alpha. But in general, I thought it was nice. It was nice to have Nate back. If you're not going to get major updates, getting eye candy is fun. It gives you stuff you can use when you're making videos. Remind me, the new ability is you don't take damage from Magic Reflect and from Thorns. And did they ever confirm if it's for the backfire?
I think they said, yeah, pretty much all those abilities. It is called like the Reflect Shield is kind of the name that they threw on there right now. And it was, I think Thorns, Blast, the range one.
So Blast was included?
Yeah, Blast was included.
Okay. I didn't fully understand why Jotun would go down, but now that makes a little more sense.
Magic Reflect.
Especially if a summoner's getting that new ability. Then
that was kind of my thought, right? Is like, if they slap this on a legendary summoner, then you have a 1-for-1 counter against Jotun. You
also counter the Mylor deck that is just dominating champion. Is just the Mylor with the Fallen Summoner and the Messiah to make it so you're taking, triple Thorns, triple Magic Reflect. That deck is super annoying to play against. It's become extremely popular, so it counters that one as well. So that one little leak, it's a big gameplay change in my opinion that we could see coming.
Yeah. What about you, Cryptmancer? Was it kind of fun to see all this new stuff and hear about the new ability? Did it not matter to you at all? What was your initial thought?
Yeah, no, it's definitely exciting. I think you guys stole my thunder a little bit. I actually just published a video right when the stream started talking about the Reflect Shield and my guess or prediction, maybe, I guess, around Grandmaster Wraith from the Life team. And I do think it's possible that he could, as a Life Splinter, a Protect type Splinter, and Legendary at that, maybe take advantage of this new ability and grant it to the entire team. Because we know the reward cards will be one individual card or maybe two on a team for a Splinter if there's a neutral card that has it, for example. But that's not going to stop a Jotun or a Mylor, right? But if you had a legendary summoner that granted it to the whole team, it's a different story. So I think this could definitely be the case, and I just dropped the video on that earlier this evening. So
yeah. Jarvie, what about you? I don't know if do you even watch the town halls?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. What were some of your reactions to what they dropped?
Well, my reactions are probably a little bit of blasphemy, I suppose. In that I don't understand the extreme obsession with the art as much. I guess I'm more about like, what does the game do? Is it fun? How are the tokenomics and all these things? And they keep repeating over and over, like, I want this game to people to like be in love with these characters and like come here for the lore, and they're going to stay because of this. And I hope they're right. And that's a different target market than me.
Are you one of those gamers?
It's somebody else who said not so many artists, more developers.
Sorry, Steve. Sorry we
Is that
threw you
you
under
too,
the bus.
Yeah, I said that a couple episodes ago, and they got on me pretty good.
It was a pretty good burn, to be honest, though. To be fair, I did admit last week that I was one of those gamers, even growing up as a kid, that I don't know if you experienced this, Jarvie, where I just skip through most cutscenes because I want to get to the actual gameplay.
I don't think you can do it the way they're trying to do it. I don't think you can make a game and then make lore for the game and then get diehard fans who stay because of the lore. If you start with a show, you can bring in new players, maybe. Like if we ever did have a Splinterlands animated series, you could put that out to a new batch of players who would come into the game and they might love specific cards. But I don't think you can do it with paper and story. But they're starting to go towards YouTube animated like ish, like at least narrated. And I think if they had the talent, they would do an animated series. But if it's not done really well, I don't know of how much you would spend on that and how much time you'd put into it if it would really work.
A lot. You spend a lot of money. A lot. I have a group of friends are producing a pretty big cartoon series, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot. And look, I don't mind that they're doing it, and I like that the art gets better, and I appreciate it, and I have no problem with it getting better. As long as it's not impacting anything else, that's fine. I mean, it's cool if they want to use those animated stuff in the game, but it's like they're creating it, but it's not being used really. So I'm not sure. And how much does it? They also, I mean, they've talked about like you can create these cool assets, but you have to worry about if it slows down the actual game and stuff like that, especially on a web-based game. So, but yeah,
I'd agree. They don't need to be something they're not, in my opinion. They're not that Legends Reborn game that I showed by Gala Games. That's like a 40-minute match every single match. They're a 3-minute, they're less than 3 to 4 minutes per match, very strategic type game where you get a new rule set, new mana, new this, a large amount of cards, and it's just my brain bigger than your brain in this 3 minutes that I have to make a team. It is really what the game is, and that's not a bad thing because I think people like that, and they like to be able to go, they got me this time, I'll go again, and be able to play 10, 30 games in, less than an hour, and then just be done with your day of Splinterlands. So I just would like to see them, really push for some of the big milestones that I think a lot of people have been waiting for. The land has to come out. The new rank rewards have to be here to see if it can help fix the botting problem. The wild and modern need to be out there. The validator nodes need to be out there so we can get to the other areas of the white paper when it comes to the SPS validators and things like this. And these are all things people know, but they really need to happen.
Luke, so to answer your question, the things that on the art, I'm looking at their summary. The things that I love on here, I love these reward chests and what they mean. Like they look beautiful. Look, the art looks good, but the chests are probably some of the better looking, nicely intricate things. But they mean different things. Look, there's 5 of them, and you're like, what could that be? That's awesome. And then the validator nodes are fun to me and they look beautiful, but that's because I'm like planning on getting validator nodes, and like, this is cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They definitely have upped their game. And before I kind of give my thoughts, Cryptmancer, I think you were trying to say something a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so I would say that just to play devil's advocate, and I agree that more is better, more developers, more artists, more creatives, right? But to play devil's advocate, if you look at other games in the ecosystem here that we're in play to earn, if you go to like the Star Atlas development team and you look at their makeup and you look at the Illuvium team, they're probably like 90% artists and artist contractors and 10% developers. And if you look at like Marvel, if you've ever seen the end credits in like a Marvel movie, look how many teams and sub-teams they have just doing the graphic work and the creative work to make that happen. I'm not comparing, Splinterlands to a Marvel movie, but the fact is the stuff doesn't create itself, right? Everything has to be created by hand in this case. And if we really want to get to an audience of scale that we all want to see, things like the art and also things like the mobile client, these are foundations for success, and you have to invest in them. And again, I think it's a matter of more of everything, more developers, more creative, and make it all work. And I think when I think it was Doogie on the last town hall was talking about, hey, strap on your seatbelts, because in July, when all this stuff starts coming together, you're not going to be asking, when this or when that. You're going to be like, hey, slow it down. We're drinking from a fire hose here. Every week you're putting out something new that we having to adjust to, right? So we're going to get there. It's just kind of the calm before the storm, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
Look at it this way, though, from my perspective, on the obsession with not the obsession, but the heavy focus on art does one thing, that non-card asset marketplace. I said, and I know it's not going to happen, but hey guys, just make the back end for it. We'll throw the interface up in 1 week. Just make the protocol. Make the protocol for it. We'll throw it up in 1 week. You know why it's not out? Because they're spending a ton of time making sure that their is like this beautiful, beautiful thing. And I can tell you right now, we're going to have more sales than they're going to have anyways. So why not just make it?
Yeah. I mean, I think the most important part for the art isn't really kind of all this comic book animated series type of thing. Like if that is ever achieved, that's great. But I think kind of what we've talked about in the past few weeks is just the game itself needs to be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to compare to something like Gods Unchained or Skyweaver. And when I look at things like the validator nodes or the reward chests, those are the types of things I actually get more excited about, because I think it's going to actually make the whole game look better itself. And I think that's more so my concern, rather than like, hey, is this art good enough for an animated series? I think that's cool idea, as you guys said, but that's not really like top priority of where this needs to go, at least in the short term.
Yeah, and I understand that you want the art to be good enough for it to not look like a cheesy game, or to be compared to like the lower end play to earn stuff. And there are more games coming out that are pushing the envelope. It's very clear that the art team then maybe needs to be bigger. It's either more artists or less art controlling timelines, because Matt came to us and said that he was going to have something out because he knew how important it was end of April. And then in the next town hall, Nate showed up and said, well, that's not going to happen because my chests aren't going to be ready and this isn't going to be ready. And we need time to build all the art so that it looks cool when it comes out. And so when art is slowing down development, especially at such a key time, last month, that's when it starts to bug me, because it's like, if you can't get it out on time because you're trying to make it look pretty, that, I don't know. That's
amen to that. Times 15.
All right. Well, I think we've killed the art discussion enough here. So I do want to retouch back onto the Reflect Shield, because I think that's an interesting point. Do you guys, when there's these big new abilities coming in, especially those, you guys have been here longer than I have, how much of that does affect not only the meta, but some of the card prices? Like we already talked on Mylar and Jotun. Do you guys see those really falling off? Because now there's this huge counter with that ability, and maybe, we don't know, obviously, but a legendary summoner that could give the entire team that ability? Or do things like Mylar and Jotun just have so much power and utility that even this new ability doesn't really affect things?
Well, I would think that when the first 7 cost summoners came out, and you had Jotun with Blast, Mimosa hit first with anti-heal, and that was really devastating when she came out. And then Jotun came, and then Kitty came, and each time, each of these summoners definitely took their place and upped their team to a whole new level. And it really was pretty strategic the way they seemed to come out, because they always helped a team that was kind of lagging and left behind. And maybe the most powerful team in Magic got the worst summoner of the group. And so all of a sudden Magic wasn't just dominating the game as much anymore. So they've done a good job releasing them, but they definitely changed the meta. I mean, if they're looking at two of the most powerful cards in Mylor and Jotun and going to create a summoner to counter that, then and that also counters even Valimor in the Magic team a little bit, because they have some blast characters on their team sometimes. So it's an interesting. It's definitely. It's bullish to hear such a powerful ability coming. At least that these new summoners that we're getting might have, you know, a nice hype run where when they first come out, they're pretty expensive until maybe the market. They're going to have that run where it starts off at a price and then it goes down a little and then it goes flying up like the other cards did. If it does have an ability that can let you, you know, now, because think about how many new players are tired of losing to Jotun.
Me.
So give a summoner to counter him and beat him, and you're gonna have a lot of people want to get one to at least level 2, right? So they can compete in like silver with it.
Let's be clear, they haven't said that the summoners are going to do that. They're saying that some of the reward cards will be immune from that.
That's
sure.
true.
This is just speculation.
Big speculation there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting because their theory, which I kind of like their theory, is we don't nerf really powerful cards. We just come up with counters because we don't want to change a card that's already out and essentially take away its value, right? If you bought a Jotun with blast and now they remove the blast, and then your, you know, $500 card at that time is now $50 or whatever it would be, because, you know, that +1 range, +1 speed isn't enough. But on the other hand, if you come out with counters, then as well, that could potentially start to decline the value. And I think Cryptmancer, you were talking about you've been watching the price of Jotun slowly kind of come down from its highs, right?
Yeah, and this was in probably the end of March for me personally. So I was looking at Jotuns because I had just a 1 BCX and I wanted to get them to at least level 2. So that's 2 more BCXs. And I saw some hit the market, and I knew one of the individuals that was listing 2 BCXs. And I reached out to them. I'm like, hey, you know, what's going on here? Why are you selling this for so cheap? And it was significantly undervalued. And, you know, I knew there was going to be changes coming up with the new legendary summoners. And I figured that it would be risky to buy the old legendary summoners because something like, you know, what we're speculating could happen. I ultimately bought the BCXs and bit the bullet there because, you know, I like having the Jotun. But yeah, I mean, it's a reality. It could happen. But at the same time, you know, if it's all about matchups and your opponent, right? Because right now, Lear is a hard counter to Jotun. So you can buy Lear, and if you know you're going against Jotun, you can pretty much guarantee yourself a win. But you have to know. Well, I know Steve's going to say no. I know, but you have a good chance in lower diamond. You have a good chance, Steve. But that being said, you still have to know when your opponent's going to play Jotun. So there's still a matter of skill to the game. Even if you have the best cards, there still is some level of skill in the game and kind of that rock, paper, scissors and mentality. So for me, I bit the bullet, even though I knew there's probably something coming that would harm, you know, his meta standing. But, you know, it's part of the game.
Yeah. Jarvie, how about you? When you're watching the market and new cards and new abilities come out, do you see things shift pretty well? Because I haven't been here for a super long time, but I remember when I came in, it was all about, oh my gosh, Oceanus and this Venari Wavesmith are incredibly powerful with Ulrich. They're super high priced for a reward card at that time, right? And then as soon as Chaos Legion went out and then Ulrich wasn't a starter card, it was like, well, Wavesmith down from like, whatever it was, $6-7 to, you know, dropped to like 50 cents within a couple weeks. So I don't know. Do you notice these trends as well? Is that a pretty big factor?
I don't know. I mean, I know that they happen, but I look at kind of long term. I'm like, oh, it kind of surprises me because there was that, you know, like a couple years where I wasn't playing much. But now that I play and now that I do a lot of bidding, I have been noticing prices going, but, you know, that's just recently. So,
yeah. Well, it'll be really interesting.
I feel like it has more to do with tokenomics or like, you know, number of people coming in and the marketplace doing things together. Like there's all sorts of factors, you know, like how many of these cards are being printed. That's what hit Oceanus probably not, but I didn't realize that was probably the thing with Alric going out. That's another reason it dropped, huh? That's really
that
good
makes
point.
sense. I hadn't thought about that, but losing the free magic extra magic summoner, all of a sudden those cards aren't nearly as powerful to use.
Because you and me, Steve, we have lots of Ulrich.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't, because he all of a sudden when he removed from starter card, his price was already high and then freaking shot up from there too.
Well, and it's a good segue too, because if we look at the rank reward systems, we're also on the verge of a pretty big change. Now, what you're talking about is Ulrich being removed from the starter cards and pretty much the demand for cards that worked well or synergized well with Ulrich going away because players in the Silver and Bronze League just didn't have access to Ulrich anymore. Same with all the bots, right? They don't have Ulrichs to go around to all these bots. So obviously the cards related to that dropped. And now we're on the verge of a big change where for reward purposes, we're being told that all starter cards or ghost cards are not going to be able to earn. So what is that going to do to the meta? And it's a macro change. It's not just an Ulrich summoner being taken away. It's essentially potentially all cards. And how we respond, or how the bots and how we respond to that change will dictate a lot of market moves in the next couple weeks.
But Bildschka didn't go up at the same time when he got a magic summoner, and he stayed low.
Yeah, and it's probably because he's very susceptible to magic reflect, but at the higher levels, he's kind of a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's only a 3-cost card as opposed to like an 8-cost card, so he's never going to be as impactful. But I still like him. He fits in every once in a while in the right setup. So O'Shaughnessy is just a beast. I mean, the speed on that 8-cost card in certain matches when you speed him up, he just can't be hit. It's ridiculous.
Luke, aren't you doing this whole like battle between different cards? And I keep voting on those things. And isn't he like in the finals or a semifinal?
It's the voting is still alive. It looks like he's finally going to lose to Kron, but in the final, which is honestly surprising because he beat Dr. Blight, he beat Grum. I think he beat Queen Mycelia he went up against as well. It's just like, I was really surprised actually. And I think part of it is a lot of people are voting from probably a bronze or silver perspective. So in that sense, it makes more sense. But you're like, some of those cards like Dr. Blight and Gold it's way more powerful than O'Shaughnessy, in my opinion. But
right.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's been fun to watch that. But yeah, O'Shaughnessy to second most powerful monster in the game, according to the public.
I mean, he almost auto wins bronze and silver if you have him at level. It's ridiculous. You put him on the board, especially. I mean, I don't know. I've been using him even on that Gold Steve account I run, and it's stupid. I just put him out. Oh, look, he won again. I'm like, this is stupid. And the other reason why he might seem more powerful to other players is you can actually get him, right? So you can actually get his card and use his card, whereas getting a Kron, it's a little bit, for a smaller player, it's a little bit different. And Kron isn't as deadly until he gets last stand. So, even less
Kron is pretty much
that.
O'Shaughnessy with a self heal on it, though. It's like,
well, he's slow though. He's slow,
but he heals for like 3 at level 1. It's ridiculous. But yeah, anyways, it'll be definitely interesting to see how that new ability changes the meta and maybe some prices of cards moving forward. But obviously, we'll track that as it goes. Another thing that they talked about was we are now looking at ranked rewards not till June. And I know we talked about this last week, but I want to get your guys' opinions because you guys weren't on here. We were talking about last week, though. Splinterlands development, it's slow. There's this tech modernization. And, for me, I was like getting a little bit impatient, getting a little bit frustrated. But I was like, oh, at least these rank reward changes are coming in May. And now it's like, well, it was April. Now it's May. Now it's June. And it's still an estimated June. So who knows? It could be pushed back to mid-June, July. Who knows at this point? So how are you guys feeling? Just like
end of the next season. So that would be 4.5 days plus 15 days, right? So like something like 19 days from now.
Yeah, it's not a crazy time away, but I think it's just the fact of like getting pushed. So I don't know if you guys are feeling that as well. Are you feeling pretty impatient about it, or are you not worried about it?
What I would say is it's kind of like Christmas getting pushed 2.5 weeks, right? It doesn't feel good, right? But at the same time, it gives if you're a parent, it gives you more time to buy more Christmas presents. That's the way I look at it. So, and by the way, Christmas presents are on sale right now if you haven't checked. So
I love that analogy. That's amazing.
Yeah. I started buying cards again. If anybody wants to track my movements, but I've been picking up like any of those rare cards and just putting them on the rental account for now, because I can definitely see that, right. One of the things I think that Ranked Rewards is going to do is it's not only going to push bot owners to rent cards, it's going to push the bot runners and farming people who still want to be in the game and still want to be making income from it, to evaluate the new structure of the rewards chest and the probabilities of getting better cards and finding that sweet spot to get the most bang for your buck. And I'm hoping that it will finally be not in silver, because silver has for a long time been the most bang for your buck, and it's too low. It needs to be gold, where you get the most bang for your buck to help kind of deal with these new card print numbers, because those extra 2 levels of pushing yourself to 6 sometimes can be almost the same amount of cards that you put it to get it to 4. And I know people might not like that, but I feel like that's where the most rewarding rewards need to be. And then the max level cards are really for the people who want to compete at the top tier, because at that point it's almost detrimental spend to reward at a certain point when it comes to how much you earn in the game. But you have the ability to compete in what hopefully will be like the most elite tournaments with the biggest prizes and things like that. So it's a different player who's going to go ahead and max everything out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing is with these reward changes is, do you guys think it's actually going to affect the way players think about this game and build their decks? Is this going to change bots? I mean, Cryptmancer, I don't know if you can give like a 30-second snippet of like what were your bot findings here, and if people didn't watch your, I think 3 or 4 videos on it, they can go to the Cryptmancer. But what were some of your findings in your latest videos about how many bots and win trading, and what were some of the numbers?
yeah, I mean, what I'll say is my last video. So the original couple videos that I was going through, you were seeing that data in real time as I was processing it and finding it. And so I've had some time, a day or two to kind of review the data. And my last video that was just published this afternoon, I believe, was actually kind of a summary of where I think everything's going to go. I made some predictions in that video. We'll see what happens in 19 days, where it all ends up. But the data is there because I think understanding the data is good for anyone who's either a player or investor in the game to make educated decisions on what they want to do and how they want to plan. And I do think it will, hopefully, crossing my fingers, influence the bots and us as players to play higher. And hopefully it is a very symbiotic effect that lifts all boats, right? Because I do think that's the plan. And from what I can tell, and if you look at my last video, I am optimistic and hopeful that that is the case. And the numbers seem to play out or seem to lend to that conclusion. So I would say I can't really summarize everything here because it would probably take like a half hour, but definitely check out my video from today if you're interested in that topic, because I think it will definitely provide some insight that might be beneficial to the players on listening to the stream.
Jarvie, what's your thoughts on bots here? Because I know you're a player, but you're also a market maker. So it's like, doesn't matter for peak monsters, right? If it's a bot buying or renting cards or a player buying or renting cards, or are the large number of bots concerning to you just as a player or someone that's interested and invested in this game?
Let me give you facts before my opinions.
Sure,
Cryptmancer, I feel like he was trying to figure out how many humans there are interested in Splinterlands, or how many are presently interested, because there's been a lot that have come, and maybe have an account and don't play presently, or may come back in every once in a while, or just check in. They're on the Discord here and there. But I mean, with our airdrop that we do for our PKM token, we give out weekly to those that have spent $50 or more. So you could say, how many people are out there that were interested enough in Splinterlands to spend $50, and that's on peak monsters. That's like about 8,000. So the number is at least above 8,000.
Was that number shocking to you? Like, is that low in your mind, high, or right where you expected?
No, yeah, no. I've known that number for a while now. You know, like, no, I think it's decent. And Cryptmancer had a video showing like how big the biggest YouTuber is, how many people do this and how many do that. Like, yeah, we're probably at the 10 to, well, obviously more than 10 because that's just who use us. So, and we're about, half the market or a little bit less. So I don't know. There's probably at least 20,000 humans.
Yeah, I think the range is.
But did people think it was 400,000? I fear that probably people thought that, like that we use this daily active users number, and we should be saying daily active accounts that process something on the blockchain, even if it's just to claim rewards. It's there's not 400,000 people. There's likely not 100,000. I'm somewhere between 20 and 100. That's where it's at.
Yeah, and that's what my findings have come across as well, Jarvie. The sweet spot for real players is likely between 20 and 100,000. And also we have to remember, like, raise your hand on stream here, if you're a real person and have more than one account that you might play, right? So we're real people, and we probably have like 3, maybe 5 accounts, somewhere in that range, maybe more, I don't know. And we actively play those accounts and we actively use assets in those accounts. So those should count for numbers. So let's say the real unique individuals is 20,000. Maybe the real humans or maybe the real human accounts are really 60 to 100, right? Instead of the 20,000 unique users. But the reason why I was trying to get to that number, right, and understand the real players, because that number drives the ecosystem. That number tells you how many cards needs to be consumed by players that will actually put money back into the game or reinvest into the game, because we don't know from a bot perspective if they're reinvesting. You'd have to go to the High Blockchain Explorer and track the SPS and the DEC and stuff to track that down. Chances are, they may not be. But for most players, again, if you raised your hands to say, hey, how many of you have reinvested as a human player into the game versus how much have you extracted, most would say that you've put probably more into the game than you've taken out. And that's important to understand the economics and the overall sentiment for the market.
So what we have now then is something around, maybe 25,000 humans, maybe up to 100,000 human-owned and operated personally accounts, and there's 300,000 other accounts doing stuff. The interesting thing would now be to figure out, because we're talking about ranked rewards, of those 300,000, how many of them are pretty set that have actual cards in there, and how many of them are going to need more cards and will stick around? And are there going to be 100,000 of them all wanting 10 to 15 cards? So, I mean, it's not going to go crazy. Personally, I think they're going to buy their cards, do their thing, and be back at it. But also part of the ranked rewards is the different. If you saw the 5 different chests, this is a big thing. This is one of the coolest things about ranked rewards is the fact that when I play on my accounts and I'm trying, they could play at a pretty high level, but I have to go through the novice and bronze, and I claim that daily reward and I click on the 1. That is such a huge letdown. I click on 1 box. That is so boring. It is so dumb. And so they know it, and you're going to have a chance to open a ton of them, and they may not have awesome things in it, but you'll know it's that's because I'm at a lower league, but at least you have that fun experience of opening a bunch.
And here's where I think is also important to note is the value of that diamond chest or that silver chest or that gold chest is going to change. And I think it's going to change substantially. So it's not just the number of chests that you'll get access to, but it's a value. So if you go to Splinter cards as a tool, right, and you look at the value of the chests, I mean, it's measured in pennies, whether you're in diamond or champion or silver, whatever. But if there's an adjustment to the value of a diamond chest, that all of a sudden overnight, let's say a diamond chest is now worth $2 a chest, right? As a player, you've got my attention now. I want to play in diamond because when I pull those chests, maybe 50% of the time I'm getting a Chaos Legion pack. That's a game changer, right? As an example. So I think again, if they execute and make this work, you could see significant amount of players want to climb, want to add assets because it fuels the flywheel of increased assets. And let's see. I mean, we could definitely be seeing some changes that are very good for the market potentially.
Yeah, the big thing I think it's going to do is for the first time, it's going to push us from a play to earn game to the old saying of now we want to be a play and earn game. Because that's the mentality that we need a lot more players to get, and because that way you'll invest in cards. Instead of coming to Splinterlands going, I want to make $100 a month or a week or a day, it would be, I want to come to Splinterlands and buy up enough cards to compete at these high levels where I'll be winning hundreds of dollars, but it's to get the money back, or it's to compete and have fun and open these chests. It'll also change that new player game to the point where people might actually enjoy it in like the bronze levels because they're getting a lot more chests. They're having a lot more fun playing the game, hopefully at that point. I think it also needs maybe a few tweaks to the rule sets in bronze to make it a lot funner, but more chests is always more fun for people. And like he said, if those gold chests or those diamond chests start to really suck up like the majority of the legendary cards, the epic cards have a better chance of getting golden cards, then that's where players who really see the value of these cards long term are going to want to be. And so it's all pretty exciting stuff. And like I run 4 accounts to answer a few questions I saw in chat. And the main reason I did that is because I bought 2 land tracks. I knew I would need a lot of extra cards to put on my land tracks. And so I bought a bunch of extra cards up back in beta, and I just started putting them onto those other accounts. And I bought them because at the time that was the easiest thing you could do to actually have those cards earning you something. That was pre-market, rental market even, I think. So I had to do that. Now I could look into moving them into rentals, but I actually have level 6 summoner bot accounts that can make it into diamond. So I'm going to leave them there knowing that I have, these hopefully really good rewards chests coming. And then eventually they'll go on to land, I think, if land comes out.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really interesting. Yeah,
you're the self-designated like spokesperson for the little people, for the Krill. I want to hear are they going to be motivated to move up to silver and gold?
I mean, I think that's the interesting thing. If they can create a ladder where all those chests are more engaging, because right now it doesn't feel worth it. I mean, that's why we've all created multi-accounts, right? I mean, when I started in September, maybe late August, it was like, what's better? Buying $100 a card to go from silver 3 to silver 2, or just doing that and spreading that across 4 different accounts to all play in silver 3? Well, the answer back then, and still pretty much is today, is if I want to invest more money, just get more accounts. It's more efficient to do that. Now, obviously with the market being down, it's a lot more painful because it's a lot harder to rent and to actually grind out to silver 3. But I think if they can make it to where that silver 1 to gold 3 is attainable, especially with the power. I think once modern comes out and the power gets dropped, because that's been a really big pain point as well. It's like when it takes, $100 just to get the worst cards to put the power in for gold. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to do that because I would rather, have fun by leveling up summoners and monsters and stick around in silver 3. So I think that's going to be a big thing too, is waiting for modern for that power drop as well. But I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. I think it's either going to motivate players, or the bronze rewards, I think, are potentially even going to get worse. Maybe even silver 3 is going to get worse. And so some players, I don't know, if they don't have the funds or don't have the time or desire to go blog or get funds from elsewhere, they might just end up leaving as well. It depends on how that ladder, obviously we don't know the stats, is kind of designated for each tier.
I don't think it could possibly be worse than like one chest and get a credit.
Well, sure, but like,
The question is, will it be, enough of an improvement that hopefully it's enough of an improvement to make it a little bit more engaging if you're a player who's grinding at that level. But at the same time, this game has never, ever, ever been about you're going to play at the lowest level with the cheapest cards and become rich. Never. It's always been about progressing to the upper levels, joining the community, blogging about the game, and then hopefully winning tournaments and getting lucky when you're buying packs and opening up that gold foil or flipping open a gold foil chest. Because I know, like, I couldn't imagine if I joined this game and just tried to stay in bronze the whole time.
Right, and that's more so my point. Isn't that like this new rework is going to screw over bronze players? Hopefully it makes it better. But I'm just saying, like, if you were never someone that was willing to put money in or get funds from somewhere else, especially with the crypto market the way it is this week, if it remains this low with DC and SPS being that low, I don't think I'm making 2 cents a day is going to be motivating enough. Not that it's all about the money. But maybe if the rewards change where it's like I'm actually getting more cards at bronze, then it feels fun. But again, you have to be willing to spend money at least on summoners, or you're not doing anything with those cards because they're all going to be 1 BCX. So I think you got to be at least spending, at least $20, $30, $50 minimum. Go ahead, Cryptmancer.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you a tale because my channel is Tales from the Cryptmancer, right? So when I started playing this game, I started playing in late August. And I had a free-to-play account. I just had a spell book, and I was just playing the game, trying to figure it out. And I think it was the second day in the game, I got I think it was 1 chest or whatever in bronze 3 or something like that. And I got a gold foil Axemaster. And at the time, that card in August was worth like $350, roughly, right? Second day in the game, I got a $350 card. What do you think I did after that? I put some money in the game because I'm like, let me get some more of this, right? This is great. So what I think could happen is if, people like yourself, Luke, and myself and others are streaming and we're opening up daily chests on stream or in videos on YouTube in silver or gold or whatever, and we're seeing that kind of value that's meaningful. Yes, the game is fun, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't play it. But if people can see that motivates people to say, hey, you know what? I don't mind spending what I would normally spend on this Xbox game and putting in Splinterlands because, hey, guess what? I see Luke on stream and he's getting, $2 a day in cards that he's getting. And, that's it doesn't take quick math. That's like a 30-day ROI on my Xbox game. And if I put it in to Splinterlands instead, right? So maybe that is something I want to do. And you just can't have that effect right now if you're in bronze and you open a chest that has 1 credit, right? People are like, pick the sound effect you want to play when you open that chest, right? It's not good. So, and this is where, where the game could get to, right? Where it could start to cascade and waterfall into something where get a lot of excitement there. Now, I know there's inflation with that when the chest rewards start increasing like that. But again, if the flywheel is such that the inflation also encourages the investment, everyone can benefit.
Yeah, I think too it's a lot about how will this change bots, because not that it's going to get rid of bots, but if it pushes some bots out of bronze so that new players aren't literally playing against 99.9% bots over and over again, it could create a better newer player experience as well potentially. And if that happens, then you're more engaged with the fun of it rather than kind of what you're saying, Cryptmancer. It's like, it's great if you got that $300 card, but like at this point, that's going to be a very, very rare experience, right?
It's never happened.
Which was
again.
rare back then too, But
yeah. I mean, for sure, there's the bot situation. I think is going to change a lot, and I don't think it's going to be super negative because I play that little Gold Steve account, and I play him down in silver too, and all day I'm playing all level 1 cards as opponents, and I have level 2 cards, so I get to win a lot. Like Jarvie said, you get to pick on the bots that are just playing those level 1 cards. But a majority of those people, they don't own those cards. And so they're going to have to buy enough of them to make it profitable. They don't necessarily have to buy the summoners if they still want to just roll level 1 teams. They could just buy the cards on the board because I think it's decreased rewards for each ghost card you use. Maybe they'll counteract that and make the summoner worth more in the equation. that might be a good idea so people don't ignore the most expensive card theoretically and just buy up the other ones. But the market, and I know Cryptomancer looked at this a little bit, and the market's not that deep for a lot of these cards. It looks like it is, but there's no way if there's 200,000 bots running ghost cards that they can come in and all get cards. It won't work.
The interesting thing though
They
was
earn them.
well, in
Not all of
Cryptmancer's
them.
video though, like you peeled back a lot of those bots are actually renting cards, right? And I thought that was really interesting because what stops them from just renting either the starter cards or not even using the starter cards, just renting other cards that aren't the starter cards? So it's like, do they really need to buy and morph their accounts, or are they just going to keep running the same thing, Cryptmancer?
They're
but with
ranking level
rentals?
1.
Spoiler alert. My new video has all the answers, Luke. So thank you.
Well,
for
give
that.
me the answer now. I can't watch it right now during the stream.
So the TLDR is basically, you can rent out a full common and rare Chaos Legion starter deck for under a penny a day right now. And you can rent out every Chaos Legion summoner for under a penny a day right now. But here's the catch. If 300,000 bots all of a sudden switch over and want to do that same thing and rent that out, it stops like at the summoners, it stops at like 20,000 and we're out of summoners to rent. And then if you look at the number of summoners printed that exist in the game, I don't have the numbers at the top of my head, but it's probably like around 150,000 of those Chaos Legion summoners exist. So now if there are 150,000 Obsidians and there's 300,000 bots, not even counting human players, right? 300,000 bots. Now there's half of those bots that couldn't, if they wanted to rent an Obsidian for 100 DEC a day, they couldn't because there wouldn't be one physically to rent. So what happens? Well, good news is there's Chaos Legion packs out there, right? People could start opening Chaos Legion packs quicker, getting more of those packs out there. The rental values go up, the card sale values go up. So again, check out the video. It's got a lot of more of the detail than I can probably explain here. But I do think the bots, if they find it to be profitable, will continue to rent. And we will see prices in the market adjust to that. The market will do what the market does. You're going to see rental prices go up, then you're going to see them stabilize, you're going to see Chaos Legion packs opened, et cetera, et cetera. It's all dependent, though, on the bots staying in the game and seeing that it's relevant for them to continue what they're doing. The good news here, the one thing that we've all got going for us is the bots have already paid for themselves, right? They've made more money than they've cost. So they're a free expense. So as long as they can be somewhat profitable, and we've already seen that, the average bot rents right now 100 DEC a day mid-season just to get 15,000 collection power to get rewards in Silver 3. You can see my other videos for that data point. So if they're already spending 100 DEC a day renting just the collection power, if they have to maybe change and now maybe rent 150 DEC a day to rent a starter card chaos deck with a Chaos Legion summoner, 6 summoners, they'll probably do it because maybe the rewards are worth it. And that's what we have to hope for. Because again, if you look at some of my videos, like the scenario C, where the bots go away and they shut down, that's a scenario that none of us want to see happen, honestly. And it's just the truth of the matter. I mean, we're in a spot where the game and the players ultimately depend on the bots, and it comes down to the card print numbers. And I don't want to go into all the numbers and the math there, but the number of cards printed, it seems a lot. I mean, my latest video talks about how it's not really that many in the grand scheme of things. But if the bots aren't farming them because there's so many of them, we just get stuck in a little bit of the multi-year lull because we'll never get to the end of the rainbow here.
Yeah, and I think it's it's one of those things where I feel like we all are shocked by the amount of bots, but I don't feel like they're growing because I did that bot test a month ago and looked at like the ROI, and I'm like, there's no way that it's worth it to do what you're talking about, Cryptmancer, that there's all these bot farms just buying up an account and then renting to Silver 3. Like the ROI on that isn't that big. So I think what you said there is probably right, that it's bots that probably started back in the big boom of August, September, and they were already pulling $50 O'Shaughnessy's every week and liquidating them and using that to buy 5 more accounts. Then the next day, just explosion growth because they had so much capital coming in. But I can't imagine that someone today is going to sit down and say, I want to spend, 50 grand on 5,000 accounts to bot in Splinterlands with the way the market is right now. I think we hit probably at the biggest amount of bots we're going to unless the market really turns around. So to me, I'm not too worried about it. Cryptmancer, what you're saying is like, if all bots go away, well, why would they go away if they have already paid off their account back in, September, October, November, and might as well just keep the computer running your 5,000 bot accounts, right? Like, why pull the plug if it's free to run, essentially?
Yep.
I don't know. Jarvie, do you have any... I asked you earlier, but I don't think we got the full opinion. Do you have any concerns about how many bots are in the game? You talked about the numbers, and we speculated on how many humans there are, but is it concerning that this game is potentially 75% bots?
I don't know why, to be honest. It just seems like they're really easy to beat up on, which is fun to win a lot. They rent a lot of stuff. If they weren't around, this whole place would just collapse in an economic destruction and just free fall if they weren't renting out those 1.2 million cards a day. They're probably doing about 1 million of them. What happens to those 1 million cards if they're not around?
Yeah, and that was some of the messaging on my videos.
And I think that there is that case of like they fight each other and they purposefully lose. There's some that are in there that are like just going nonstop and they don't have any ECR, like to collect any DEC out of it. What are they getting out of it? Oh yeah, they're just being run so that some of their accounts come up against them, and they're just there to facilitate the wins of the other ones. Okay, well that's a problem. I don't know if they necessarily fixed it with taking away the name. So I mean, they need to focus on those sorts of things. I don't want those 300,000 bots to go away. I mean, it's just people like there's an account out there. What I'm thinking of is there's an account out there that's doing crazy amounts of bids on Peak Monsters for all of these reward cards, and they've bought up tens of thousands of dollars worth of these reward cards. And I went and looked at their account, and they're all rented, and their API, like the return on investment.
Sounds like you're cutting out there, Jarvie.
Back or not?
Kind of. You're a little bit of a robot, but I think we got you now. So repeat. We kind of heard you talking about the person buying up $10,000 reward cards. Yeah, no worries.
No, they bought up tens of thousands of dollars of reward cards, and I look at their accounts that they're renting them on. They got 70% APR. They're making a killing. It's just like, yeah, the bots are selling these things out, and they're being dumb about it a lot of the time. And
yeah, I think the rental market could change a lot once the new reward thing is in. Because I think when we look at it a lot now, the rentals are so cheap because the rewards are so bad at so many levels. And there's not a lot of incentivized people to level up their cards and rent them out at higher levels because there's not enough people who really want to do that. If we get to the point where the new rewards chests are really good at the upper levels and people really want to rent out those higher cards, and there's now going to be some tools out there showing the differences in like key levels for you to rent cards out and have the best ROI on those cards. And it isn't level 1 cards pretty much because they're so prevalent at this point. So there's a chance that you're going to see the rental market grow a lot, because I think like right now, a lot of the people who are getting the cards and they're just running them out at level 1 because in the old sense of the game, you don't want to combine because you want to sell singles once the cards have sold out, because that's the best way to get the best, buck. But that's kind of an old school thinking I'm thinking now, because there's a rental market, and when everybody wants to rent level 3 cards so that they can go higher, or level 4 so they can play in silver, or level 5 so they can get into gold and start earning gold chests during the season, then you're going to see some of this stuff get bought up and combined and turned into these rental accounts. And there are people out there that run, like Jarvie said, these accounts that all they're really looking to do is make this really good ROI off of renting these cards out. And the math is going to change when these chests are come out, if they're done right.
So bots are also churning through that insane amount of reward cards that are out there that we were just barely got to 50%. Imagine if they weren't around, we would be at like 10% right now.
Then the other thing he said, they sell the cards so cheap. I mean,
cheap.
It's really silly how that, I can't believe we have legendaries at $1.50 right now. Like, yeah, I was looking today, I'm like, I'm going to have to at least bring a little bit of outside money into Splinterlands, which I haven't done in a long time. Right. But I'm like, if you guys are going to sell them for $1.50, I'm going to just have to buy.
Right. Which is great if you're trying to build up your deck. It's less great if you're someone that's like, well, if they had removed the bots and then the supply was less, then the Oceanus that I pull out of this chest might still be worth $20, $30, $40. So my daily rewards would be higher, right? So that's also kind of the potential argument I could see someone making. But honestly, the biggest frustration I have with all the bots is that it makes the rental market so much harder to use, because they keep pushing up the prices for all these rentals, which is why I was like, on my alt accounts, I was usually teaching people, hey, use peak monsters, you rent, like, just get the cheapest power you can, push yourself to silver 3. Now that all the bots do it, it's like, this is such a pain in the butt, because for a human to have the motivation to actually rent to silver 3, if you don't have that yet, and you're like, well, I have to pay for all my rentals, the DEC plus the rewards I'm getting, maybe I'm barely over breaking even. Like, after all my rentals spent, my chest opened, I made a total of 10 DEC today. Big whoop. So that's like that's like a pain point for a human, but for a bot, it's like, who cares? Like, if I'm running 1,000 bots, I'm going to keep doing it until I'm literally in the negative, because there's no point in not. So I think that's the one part that's like, if you're not in silver already, I can see it being a big pain point, because you can't really rent anymore.
Yeah, so, but you shouldn't rent for silver anymore. You shouldn't. You should just buy. I mean, if you want to, I mean, I understand that some people don't have $40 or $50, but if you don't have the $40 or $50 to like push your way into silver, and especially considering if you're just doing share your battle posts, you make $40 or $50 back in a couple months, then you're trying to just pull too much money out of this game, and you're doing it in a way that makes no sense to me, because it's going to be hard. It's hard to do the math. I tried renting on that Gold Steve account. I know what you mean. You can't beat the bot. Something cheap shows up, it just disappears. So you end up just having to rent at like the more reasonable prices to get your account up and just to get more power. And he opened a gold, the sneak epic Urias the other day, and that card is like saving him now to not have to rent so much power. And so, I mean, those kind of things are just, you have to be able to like tell players like, hey, tell them the truth. If you want to be here and you want to have fun, you're going to have to invest a decent amount of money, so that you're not hitting your head against the wall, losing to level 1 bots that are always going to know the best strategy. And you're not, not making it into silver where you can get better chests, and soon maybe much better chests. And you're not ever touching gold because you decided not to level anything up. And it's just, I don't know. I don't think that like I can understand some people who want to like get in silver and stay in silver. I know Jim is like the champion of that, but that is a very unique. And if you're going to get in silver and stay in silver, I think then it's more like you're running 3 or 4 silver accounts, not one.
I like silver. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I can have maybe one.
Or a dog?
What's that?
You have a cat or a dog?
Oh yeah, my dogs keep coming in and out of the of the door here. Crit Mate, so I think you're trying to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add on to that. So to Steve's point, if you don't have $40 or $50 to play the game, it's okay, because to Aggro's credit, what he's done with some of these guilds like Nifty Arcade and Balthazar, they have the ability to rent out or basically scholar out, gold level decks, diamond level decks. So you can play the game at some of the higher levels and get a share of those rewards. So maybe the first 2 months or 3 months of the game, maybe you're not, maybe you don't have $40 or $50 in assets, but by scholaring out, you can learn the game, you can play at the high levels, and you can start to get assets to put back in the game to build your own account. So there is a path, right? So it's not just about, hey, if you don't have $50, sorry, you can't play our game. No, you can, but you have to temper your expectations and you have to be smart about it.
Well, and you have to know about it. I think that's a lot of people, since Nifty Arcade and Balthazar came on to the town halls, like, who's heard about it since? Like, if you don't know about it, how would you get connected, right? So I think that could be worked on too a little bit. Perhaps, I don't know how they make that more visible.
Got a couple of YouTubers over here that could talk about it.
We can help.
Luke, if they want to talk to us. No, joking.
Luke, were you just saying that it's kind of a pain to rent all those cars, or was that Steve that was saying it?
Oh,
I was saying I used to do those rental guides.
It takes a lot of time, right?
It takes a lot of time because you refresh the rental page and you see like 3 really good cards. Like when you're just looking for power, you click and then gone. So I just
their API
overpay.
Their API has gotten worse and slower, and it just takes forever to populate the information on Peak Monsters because we're pulling from their API. But also, I've done that before where I've rented and I've done like YouTube videos showing me renting. And I'm like, this is like a 30-minute process. This is like 40 minutes. So I'm excited that we are working on like the ability to create decks where you as YouTubers can go, here's a great deck that will get you through bronze hell. Like this is what you need. This is Oceanus. This will get you through. We know you don't want to be in bronze. You want to get to silver, but this will get you there. And like, just rent these and here's our list and go to my link of my way to get through it. And it's just, here's the link and here it is. And you just click the buttons, click. And hopefully people can rent in a fraction of the time in the future. Maybe that's a really good solution. I always think in terms of like, what's a good user experience solution to the problem at hand. And I hope that's one of them. So, but there's like competing interests. People want credit bids. And then we're doing this.
Don't listen to those people. Give us the deck builders. I like that.
You like that one? It's definitely a lot better for YouTubers.
Well, not only that, but though, like I've thought about my experience coming into Hearthstone or Gods Unchained. Like one of the things that you first do in those card games is there's often sites that are like deck builder blah blah blah.com, and so you can go in there, look at like, hey, what are those bigger win rates? What are those decks that I can copy to get started? Maybe I don't have all the cards, but here's like the starter deck that's really good. And in Splinterlands, you don't have that. It's like you have a mess of 6 decks when you start. You don't know what's good, what's bad, how to beat what. So I think that actually would not only just help with like the ease of things, but like could be a start for newer players to just jump in and say, oh, I watched Luke, I watched Steve, Quitmancer, whoever. Mm-hmm. I can copy their deck because I watched their strategy for, a half hour or something like that. So I think that'd be great.
And then other people that maybe haven't watched the videos will go in and just look at how many of them are saved. And it's like, oh, this one has 200 people have saved this one. This one's, 60. I'm going to roll with the one that has 200 saved on it, So.
Yeah, that is a cool feature. I haven't spent a lot of time doing that. Even though I've played in bronze again, and I finally realized like what you have to do to win. But but there's like, I don't know, there's not a good site that really goes over that. And it's hard because Splinterlands is so, for how simplistic it seems, it's very complicated because mana changes which team you use really in those lower levels a lot. And then sometimes the rule sets, but I don't think the rule sets come into play as much until you get into silver. Right.
I have a fundamental question here that I've never understood. Why do I have to play bronze? Why? Like, I don't get it. Maybe it's something you guys are all, oh, it makes perfect sense. But like, I don't understand. Like, I've got like all these high cards. Why do I have to play novice and then bronze? And then
you shouldn't
silver?
have to.
This is so like
You only drop down one league from the highest league you're in. So the reason you have to start in bronze is because you like to stay in silver.
no, because I don't play for months at a time, and I come back.
That's the other reason.
I'm at 0. It's like, why do I have to play in novice and bronze and silver? Why does a new user that wants to go in and rent a bunch of gold league cards, why do they have to go through that hell? I don't understand.
I mean, I think it's the idea of like progression, like you get to learn through the easier stages of the game, but I agree when you've gotten to that point and you already understand the game, it's incredibly painful to go back. Like even playing in bronze tournaments, I do really well, but like it took me a while to go back to bronze to understand what works in bronze. And then when I try to do a novice tournament on my alt account, I'm like, oh boy, okay, this is a brain trip, even though it's like technically supposed to be an easier version of the game. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand the whole concept, and I know that I pushed back a long time ago with Matt Yaba, asking, and he's like, "Well, it's just kind of built off of another game, the Clash of Clans sort of style, this or that sort of style," and I was like, "All right, whatever," and I don't get it, like. We should just choose.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really have a problem if you had all level 4 cards. If you could just come and say, "Hey, I want to just start at silver," and not have to deal with the grind. But especially because it can be a grind if you haven't done it in a while. You'll get your butt kicked by some of those bot strategies, even if your cards are a little higher, and then they get limited. So,
I mean,
it would be. If there was, and it goes back to the very beginning, and I think the ship has sailed, but I mean, I always wanted it to be choose your league and have an ELO for each league. That's the system that goes up and down, and have an actual ELO instead of this one that like bumps you, like it purposefully tries to bump you up to another like level. That's not how ELO is supposed to really work. But real ELO is actually pretty harsh, and I understand that it's like, oh crap, I went down, and you could really, you're supposed to start at like 1500, and a lot of people will be below 1500, and a lot of people will be above. Real ELO is a very mean sort of system, and so I get it.
Well, but at the same point, you make a good point, because even Weirdbeard in the chat was saying we need to push players to not only climb, but be in the league that they realistically their cards can compete at. And that's part of the problem too, is that the game encourages me to jump into gold or even diamond at the end of the season because I technically have the rating for it, and I don't even have a max silver level Chaos Legion deck, right? So it's like technically I can get away with it, but it becomes less fun because then I'm facing up against players who have just way more insane cards than I could ever imagine with my silver level deck.
I have to admit, it's funny sometimes if I'm in diamond a little bit late because I didn't play a lot, and I go play a match and I'm playing somebody with like level 5 cards. I'm like, what? How did you get up here?
Yeah. Well, anyways, I want to finish up with one more topic here, and I'll come to you, Cryptmancer, first, because as I said in the beginning of the video, we've seen some ugliness here in the crypto market, whether that's Bitcoin, Ethereum. Maybe we don't even mention Luna. Hopefully none of you guys had any Luna stuff.
Come on, Luna blew up the market. You got to throw a little shade on that stuff.
So
20% APR, where you can borrow against your stake, and then stake that and borrow against that, and then stake that and then borrow against that, and stake that and borrow against that. Yeah, that's gonna work.
If it's too good to be true, Steve, chances are it is.
That's why I didn't touch it. I was like, there ain't no way I'm gonna be there when that dies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But I mean, it's craziness in the whole market, and I think people are down about that, and I feel like the typical response is always like, oh, it's dollar cost averaging time, or like, sweet, everything's on a discount. But I think we can also just acknowledge like, hey, like, it kind of sucks right now. Like, it doesn't have to be this like copium thing where we're like, oh, well, this is the time to buy more. Well, it's like, okay, maybe we can take a second at least and say, hey, this sucks that all of our assets are down 25 to like 70% depending on what you were in. And even we've seen SPS now under 10 cents for the first time. We've seen DEC under the peg already now with a huge market crash. So Cryptmancer, I'll go to you first. What is your feelings and what is your strategy now moving forward? Is this a time you're like, hey, we're gonna pull out, or I'm gonna wait and see what happens? Is this the time you're like, this is my shopping spree and I'm stoked for it? What's your thoughts about all this?
Yeah, it's a good question. So honestly, for the last week, I haven't even looked at BTC as a price. I just know it's bad. But the reason why I don't look at it, whether it's 35,000, 30, 25,000, 20, so if it was 20,000, well, guess what? I'm not on margin for any BTC I have, so I don't care. I'm not going to sell it at 20, and I'm not going to sell it tomorrow. I'm not going to sell it the next month. For me, it's a long-term hold. And the way I look at it is when I have my crypto assets, for me personally, I'm not looking at those to sell like anytime soon. Like maybe some of them I'll reallocate and shuffle around to get something better, but I'm not going to do that now when the market's on fire, because I'm just going to take my unrealized losses and make them real, and then maybe I can get a better deal on something else. But it's kind of like moving, just the chips around the table. So for me, I don't look at it. I don't even worry about it. I mean, it's just going to be depressing, and it's not going to get myself anywhere. And what I like about Splinterlands, I've mentioned this before, is with Splinterlands, yeah, my card values have gone down over these last several months, but again, they're cards. I can use them. I can play the game, and I can't do that with my Ethereum. I can't do that with my Bitcoin. I can just look at the price and cry a little tear in my cup of coffee, right? So that's not going to help anything. So for me, again, it's not a short-term play. And if I had dry powder, which I don't, I'd be looking to accumulate more assets. And but I'm kind of all in as it is. But that's just the way I look at it. And I mean, everyone's different. Everyone's situation is different. So
yeah, I was really worried you're gonna pull a rogue right there. I was really worried for a moment we're gonna see hashtag play with your bags.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, Steve. I know I did that one to myself. I brought it up, but I really thought you were gonna go there. You were like, you're so close to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's crazy to me because the APR on getting DEC, like when you buy DEC and you get the SPS airdrop, it's at 40%. It hasn't changed much in the last few days, even during this drop, which is crazy. You would think, right? Everything's kind of dropping, but that means if you were to buy DEC right now, because of the SPS you're going to get 40% return. And that's, by the way, a 40% return on the next 76 days. The actual APR is 190% if you extrapolate it on 365 days. People have never, is that not good enough for people? Like, why are they keep selling the DEC? And then I realized, well, maybe it's because it's so tied to other assets that are also going down. DEC is in liquidity pools with other things. It's in with SPS. And so it's very tied to SPS. So as it goes down, that ratio stays pretty similar, not always like exact, but it stays, and it goes down with SPS because SPS is in a pool with BNB, and BNB goes down, and we obviously, that's some other huge factors that it's going, but it's probably in a pool with BTC. I don't know, why those huge ones go down, but we know that we're just kind of at the whims of other tokens that are pooled with it. And none of us have outside money anymore. We've sunk it all already anyways. So, and I look at it with PKM because I know that the ratio is 4.5 to SPS. And after the week or two that when it started at 10-1. It quickly went to 4.5, and it's stayed there steady. So when SPS, because it's tied to SPS, when SPS went down, PKM went down, but it steadied. No one was arbitraging, going back, changing it. It just, people are like, well, whatever, I'm not selling my PKM to get more SPS because it's stuck there. So, but I mean, and we also have pools with Hive, and Hive went down. And I was buying Hive with DEC and then putting it right back into the Hive DEC pool. so I'd have the same amount of airdrop points. So, but I mean, it's gotten even a little bit better. So it's like I wonder why people are selling their DEC, because they've talked about it being pegged. I don't know when that's actually going to happen, when they will peg 4,000 DEC to the one pack. I'm not sure when that
sounds like after the SPS airdrop is the last they said. They haven't. I don't think they've put anything firm, but that's what they
push them
said.
to do it. It should be a pretty easy change.
I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so the whole market's down. I'm not going to look at my Bitcoin, my Ethereum, and any of my hold assets that I'm comfortable with. And I'm not going to look to really reevaluate and move around stuff at this. There's just no reason to, unless it's something that you think is going to die, then you might as well get out of it and get into something else, because stuff is cheap right now in the regular market. I mean, it's a sad thing that happened with the whole Luna thing, and it got too big, and it definitely hurt us a lot right now. I mean, in general, the market was going down, but we didn't need a $30 billion project to like implode on itself. So that didn't help at all, and it pushed down all assets from what I understand, because when you go, I have $3 billion to protect my peg. Well, somebody with $5 billion comes along and goes, well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to short your asset and I'm going to destroy it because I have more money than you. And that's why, you got to be careful in this world, because I've heard some people say it. We're playing against some guys with some really big bags now and really big money. And, the crypto market has to be aware of that. Now, what does it mean for Splinterlands? To me, it means stuff is on sale. I haven't put money into Splinterlands in probably 6 months that didn't come from the crypto world. I took profits out of Splinterlands and I put them back into the big money I spent on the pre-sale, which was quite a bit more than I'd ever spent on a game in my life. But, I got all that money from Splinterlands, so I put it all right back into it. And for the first time, looking at the market now, since I haven't been putting money into the crypto sphere from the outside, is I'm probably going to start. I can definitely see moving in a few $100s here and there and being like, I'll buy, 50 O'Shaughnessy's. I'll buy 50 of, the Hark Laws if they're going to be that cheap. And I'll keep sucking up, chunks of those cards and some of those summoners who are really low, because they're just at really, really low prices. And if DEC is going to be at peg, this is when you start to look to pick it up, because the worst you can do at the end of the day eventually is trade it for a pack. And packs are like little lotto tickets, because you can always open something pretty amazing in those $4 packs, especially if you hold them for once all the legendary summoners are out. Now that's all very long-term thinking. It might be, end of the year and we still don't have all the legendary summoners out. I don't know when this all turns around and we start to see things go back up. I know for starters, the war probably needs to end. Supply chains need to start catching up, and inflation needs to become under control, because a lot of people out in the world right now, even in, some of the countries with people with more disposable money, are not in a good place, and they're not happy and they're worried. And, gas costs more than it's ever cost before. Food costs more than we ever remember it costing. And all of those things mean that, a lot of people wouldn't be putting money into the game. But the one thing I've learned is that when something you really like and really believe in is in the dirt and really cheap, it's time to probably buy it. And if the team can at least come through with land and with ranked rewards and with SPS validators out, so that allows us to have SPS earnings added into the battle. So now it doesn't really matter that you're not earning much DEC, because you're earning the governance token for the game that has a limited supply. And we start to see rank change voting, and we start to see access to those millions of dollars, I think, of assets that they've set aside for us to control with that ranked vote and do something with it. There's definitely, a lot to look forward to in Splinterlands. We've been looking forward to it for a long time. The difference now is you can, get much better cards for much, much cheaper than you could, 6 months ago. So if you have money, I don't want to say it's financial advice, but I'm going to be buying. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah, Steve, financial advice only.
Yeah, on your channel. So it's your channel. So
I mean, the funny thing is, during your depressing speech on the world state right now, I went to go check tribal decks prices, and I literally bought a pack while you were speaking because it was under $2. There was a pack for under $2, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we're at a world where finally, I feel like people who haven't been able to get into this game before, we can actually have fun. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm not buying this pack because it's financial advice. I plan on reselling it. You know, if I open the pack, the average value is going to be $259. Obviously, sometimes it can be way less than that. But I'm like, hey, there's a good chance that the cards are, you know, on average, better than what I just paid for it. And I get to have fun opening it on stream or do a giveaway with it or something like that. And it's just crazy to me that prices are getting low. But I think they need to honestly get low because, you know, we've been talking about these ranked reward changes. And to push into gold, right? Like, we've talked about how, like, this game needs to encourage you to get to gold. I can't even get a silver level maxed Chaos Legion deck for these tournaments. And I just looked at my Chaos Legion cards only, regular foils. My Peak Monster says right now, it's up around $1,200. So literally for over $1,000, I still can't have a max level Chaos Legion deck for these tournaments that I'm trying to play in. And that blows my mind. I mean, that's a good chunk of change for a lot of people. So I'm fine with them getting lower. That's fine with me. I'm just going to keep trying to get my silver level max deck.
Yeah, I tend to look at Hive of being a value of $1. So when those chaos packs are being sold for 4.5 Hive, I'm like, oh, that's too rich for my blood. But if someone's coming in with like, you know, straight up dollars, then they're looking at $1.80 for a pack. You know, like that's amazing. So.
Yeah. Cryptmancer, any last thoughts about kind of the market right now, how you're feeling about things? Any things you're thinking about?
No, just trying to figure out how I can find some dry powder under my couch cushions to buy some more Splinterlands assets. But I did want...
What's the top thing? Yeah.
I would buy DEC right now. DEC is number one right now because it's at or below peg, and it's just free money. It's printing free SPS, and I like SPS already. So yeah. And especially, I think it would go a long way to your point, Jarvie, if, you know, Splinterlands came out and said, hey, we've talked about the stablecoin of DEC. We're just going to open up the shop, and, you know, you have 4,000 DEC, buy a Chaos Legion pack. That's going to put a lot of confidence in DEC at that point, because I think a lot of people are thinking, like, how we already see it dip under peg, you know, today. You know, how far could it go? Because I think everyone's assumptions when they look at the liquidity pools and doing their calculations is that they can get that you know, 4,000, you know, that $4 worth. And, you know, there's no guarantees on that right now other than just the word of the company. Put it out there, make it happen, and then I think you're going to see a lot of money come into DEC because it quite possibly could, not financial advice, be one of the best investments in crypto right now just because of the way it's all architected. So
it dropped 8% since we started this conversation.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, DEC and cards to me are a great value right now. And I mean, I sold all my DEC when it was at 10x over. I sold like 2 million of it because I was just like, there's no way it shouldn't be this valuable. And so now I'm finally like, okay, now I can go pick up 2 million DEC again at the dollar peg, and then I can just hold it. And, you know, I made a great trade on that because when you buy it at peg, you get those times where something happens and it pushes it above it. And it'll move up and down 20% if we get back to how it used to be. It'll go down about 80 cents and it'll go up to about $1.20 when they announce something and something comes out. And it's a pretty stable thing when it's right there. When it was somehow a 10x what it was supposed to be, I was just like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
It's at 0.0090. And that means it can easily, if they put in a peg, it could easily go up 10%. And then it's got that 40% return in 76 days if you assume that is worth 6.8 cents. If you assume it's worth 6.8 cents, you're looking at a 40%, around a 40% return because airdrop points will go up and stuff.
And if you value SPS at $1,
yes,
that's a lot higher APR, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, short term, I would. I think you're roboting again there, Jarvie. I'll continue. Maybe we'll catch you back here in a second. But I would caution that in the short term, I think, you do have to throw a little bit of caution in there, because if DEC continues to go down, you might say, okay, well, it's going to be pegged probably back to that 4,000 DEC for a pack. So $4, essentially for 4,000 DEC. But the thing is, if you buy a pack off the market, you can still only resell that pack, or at least right now, for $2, or you can open it up and get an average of 250. So even if you're buying it at an average, which you have the airdrop point, I understand you get airdrop points, but unless you're buying a lot of packs, so I'm talking about for like the people who are only buying a few packs, it theoretically can be cheaper to just buy them off the secondary market.
Yeah, but the people with lots of airdrop points, and there are accounts that just do this, they are waiting for that pack thing, and they will play that DEC game to get those extra packs. And I know this because I was in one of the groups that did the pre-sale to get one of the card designs. And as soon as DEC hit peg, what happened in that group when it got down here? They all said, so is it time to start getting DEC to do another pack buy? Because they understand that if once that is there, it creates just a level of arbitrage where DEC can only go so low, and then literally it's just money to buy, get an airdrop pack, and get the pack. I mean, I've seen it before. We saw it with the Untamed packs. There was just a certain point it would go down, and then the bots would just buy it up, bring it back up, and it would go back up to about 90 cents. I mean, You're right. I don't think buying DEC would make you super rich right now, but it wouldn't hurt you. If you want,
Yeah, and that's my point, is that the risk is pretty low in terms of the overall picture, but I'm just saying there is a world where DEC doesn't bounce straight back to peg right as the pack release comes out for 4,000 DEC. It could take some time. So whatever happens to DEC, you buy it now. Who knows? It could still be 50% for a amount of time until it finally gets back to peg. So that's all I'm saying is like, curb your expectations that it's just going to instantly pop back to peg if it does continue to hit this crypto bear market, and we're all sitting here in the winter for a while.
You also have to realize
it is very tied to SPS, and if SPS keeps going down, then it will keep going down unless there's outside money saying, look, I'm going to sell my other stuff and buy this DEC. It's just going down along with SPS. So yeah,
we could start to see SPS turn around, because I don't know how many of you watched Neil's show, but his show earlier today, he talked about the fact that we finally passed the VCs are done getting their SPS tokens. So inflation's going way down because those distributions are not going out. And then since we are so delayed in some of the other distributions coming online, with the validator rewards and the play to earn rewards, there finally could start to see kind of a release of the sell pressure going into DEC. And Neil isn't always correct, but he is one of the biggest players in the whole ecosystem, and he announced he's buying SPS now. So
I unpopular opinion, I hope they delay the node launch.
Oh, because you want your SPS to be worth more when you buy your licenses, right? Yeah, I know. I'm getting annoyed too. I'm like, man, I keep having to leave a whole bunch unstaked to make sure I can have enough to get my node license.
I hope they wait for a while. I hope they don't. And then it's just like 6 months of no usage for it. And it's like, let's wait.
Yeah, but we do those kind of things for them, don't we, Jarv? We just buy stuff and just hold it forever.
Yeah, speaking of that, land do you think that's a good investment right now? I've been eyeballing some.
What's it at?
150.
I don't know. No. I don't know. I'm tossed. Do you guys think? I mean, I gave Luke a land and a couple people a couple lands on the stream because I don't really know. Is a single land gonna do much? You think? When they've described land, because there's 150,000, and they've said in a couple of times in the past that even if you owned a region, like 1,000 of them, you might not produce enough materials to be able to just be crafting by yourself. That you'd still have to do some stuff. So I don't know. I guess it depends on what your budget is. But I mean, at $150, and we got them at, what was it, 10? And that's not including if you got discounts. So they're still 15x from original price.
Yeah. Well, if we only have 50,000 players in the game, then that's only 3 per player. I don't know, Manser. What do you think about land?
I just don't think that many players will be excited to own one. Is my point. Like I mean, if you get super lucky and you open up a rare land, of course, that's amazing. But like one common land, I think it's not going to be. You'd probably just end up selling it.
Right. Well, that's why I never bought one in the first place, because it was like when it was at $500, you're like, well, I don't know is this a legendary? Is this a common land that's going to be worth like $20 because it was only common and it's not really producing that much, or is going to be a legendary? So it's hard to say. But
if you were going to be investing in land, I would watch the track prices, because I think that would be the interesting thing to purchase, because then you get a guaranteed keep or castle if you're super lucky. And then there's only going to be so many keeps and castles, right?
That's going to be out of reach most people. But
well,
Manser, how about you? What do you?
Most people, okay?
I want to let Manser butt in here. So what do you think about land?
Or is this recorded?
It's definitely live.
Okay.
Manser, what do you think? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Oh, I'm not getting sound from him right now.
I can hear him, but
what? Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. All right. Go for it again.
But what I can tell you is that from a land perspective, I'm definitely very bullish on it, because if you go back to one of the town halls, you'll hear Matt talking about, calculating the value of land, and he basically broke it down, and I have a video on it again. Surprise, surprise. It talks about how you can backwards calculate the value of land, similar to how you can backwards calculate the value of cards in the ecosystem. And it actually, when I did the calculation, it was probably about 2 months ago. The land valuation was about $400 at that time per plot, because we know how many plots there are, right? There's 150,000. And if you look at the total market value and divide it by 150,000, it came out to be about $400 at that time. So yes, the market has come down, but do I think the market will stay down? No, I think it will stabilize and it will go back up again. So from that perspective, again, I think it's a depressed asset, and one, again, not financial advice, but since it is Luke's channel, do what you want with it. No, just kidding. Seriously, not financial advice, but I do think it is an asset that has definitely still legs to run. And if you've listened to other smart YouTubers, I'll just say Neil McSpadden is one I've discovered recently on the Monster Maverick show. He also believes that the land assets have room to run as well. So, I'm a believer, and if I had, tens of thousands of dollars, I'd be buying land.
Yeah. And you make a good point, not financial advice, because it is such just a volatile thing. It's like we all believe in this project, we want to play this game, and that's why we're here. We're having fun with it. But in the end of the day, when people ask me, is Splinterlands, is my cards and SPS, is that really tied to the rest of the crypto market? It's like weeks like this, I'm like, it's kind of hard to say it's not. Some people are complaining, blaming the team, and it's like, look at all the other gaming tokens and find me one.
Well, it's tied mostly to Hive too. It's definitely tied very, very closely to Hive, and then Hive is going to be, correlated to all the other big tokens as well. So the market is correlated to those things, and so you have to know that. And I just feel like if you're somebody who has enough money to buy a decent amount of land, land's the right play. If not, and you want to look at the assets in Splinterlands, cards that you can use to make money back right away might be better and more fun than sitting on a few land plots.
Okay, so I have something fun then I'll do right now on stream. I'm buying land. Like Steve said, you go big or go home, so I'm buying this tract that's available.
There we go.
Can beat me in the next 5-10 seconds.
It's turned into a live market show. My pack purchase is becoming a lot less impressive though right now.
Hey, I have 2 tracks, and I'm very, very happy. I have 2 tracks, and I'm not breaking those up. And the only way I'd probably sell one of those tracks would be if it was like $50,000. That would probably be my number.
Well,
Maybe
I
even
just
more.
bought a tract.
There you go.
There it is.
Live proof. Here we go on Splinter Talk. The first time anyone's
can now
bought
call
a track.
yourself at least the owner of a keep, and if you get lucky, a possible owner of a castle. And I think those are going to be pretty important in the land ecosystem.
The price difference on this tract, they must have put it up a long time ago, and they didn't move it down when Hive went down. But it was
one of those.
It was 21,000 Hive.
Oh, so it just cut in half almost.
Yeah, but Hive went down to
Right. Oh,
So I bought
from $1.
I bought each plot I got was $90. So
holy crap. Well, you know what, Jarvie? The real question is, when does that plot of land become the #1 reward in your next tournament? Like, which tournament is it going to be the prize for?
wait, what?
Which PKM tournament?
When you're going to give away land?
Oh,
Yeah, which PKM tournament's going to feature land
I'm the
now?
only fool that gives away land.
wait.
Come on,
Monsters
PKM
gonna pop.
tournament, that'd be hype. You know, how many people would join that tournament, Jarvie? First
For
tournament to give
what?
away land,
Or
a tract? A tract?
tract.
Come on,
my
man.
God.
Like, think about the press Peak
Oh
Monsters
my
could
God.
get here. It's a marketing
Oh my
tool.
gosh. Well, that's the issue. We already have most all of these users. They already know that if they're not like,
really, if you're not using Peak Monsters, you're not a serious player.
Well, fair enough.
I mean, and people are like, oh, well, we'll go somewhere else. I'm like, I look at the bids. I know how much people are saving by using that. 10, 20. I saved $1,000 on one card by using a bid. Of course, it took several months for someone to finally decide to sell it to me at my low price, but I didn't budge. And it was like, they were selling the Yoden Zaku for like 6,000. And I was like, no, 2,300, and they were like 6,000, 7,000, and then they started to go to like 3,600, and I was like, okay, now we're starting to get there, and I raised mine to like 2,500, and eventually they just came down to mine, and I saved myself, by some accounts $1,000, or by some accounts $3,000, and it's like, yeah.
There you go. Well, we got to wrap things up here. Thank you guys so much for being on tonight. I'll give you guys a chance to sign off, starting with you, Cryptmancer. I know we mentioned it a few times here. Some excellent videos done by you pulling out different data around bots, win trending. I suggest everyone go look at those things. But any other sneak peeks about your channel coming up here soon, or anything else you want to shout out?
Hopefully I'm back.
Yep,
Yeah.
I can hear you. Did you hear me?
Nope, that one disappeared. There he is.
Okay, Cryptmancer, if you can still hear me, go ahead and sign off and shout out anything about your channel that you want to have people know. What's upcoming? What's the sneak peek here? All right, it looks like we have some technical difficulties. I don't know. Can you guys hear
Oh, I
me?
hear him totally fine.
I hear
Oh
him.
my goodness, why does it keep doing that? Okay, Cryptmancer, for the 3rd time. I don't know what is going on tonight, but
We'll
I
just let
think
you
we
know
got-
he's done.
All right, go ahead.
Well, check out the channel for sure. Definitely, it's been a pleasure being back on the stream, Luke, with yourself and Steve and Jarvie. Obviously, Jarvie, if you've watched my videos, how much I use Peak Monsters, how much I value the service. So appreciate all that you and Asgarth do for the community. Like half my content wouldn't exist if your site didn't exist. So appreciate that. And yeah, everyone stay, I guess, positive and, see you in the game.
Cool. Well, thanks for being on. Jarvie, thanks for being here. The special guest of tonight, guest to honor. Anything about Peak Monsters you want to shout out, or any maybe spicy sneak peeks, features that are coming down the road, things you want to leak while we're live?
Already mentioned the 2 big ones. The credit bids, definitely want to get that done, and decks, which will be different than sets, but the ability to to indicate a monster at a certain level, and then you'll even be able to link to these ones and save them, and people will be able to save, like, watch your guys' videos. Which, by the way, I do say that I watch not all of them, most all of them though, of your guys' videos. You guys sound very different at 1x speed. It's very, very slow. I listen to everyone at 2x. So to me, normal speed is 2x, and it's like, this is funny.
Yeah. Do you have any estimates on when those features might be out, or is that still?
We're doing another Peak D thing. As you know, when we start working on a feature, unless it's a huge one, they go by pretty fast. If he's like on it and not getting distracted by API problems, or when they do the releases and something breaks, he gets distracted for a day having to like do something. But like it could be from like 1 week to get something done. So if he can set aside the 1 week to, and he's already halfway through probably. So I don't know. I don't know if, because we've got this other big thing going on Peak D, and a couple of developers working on things over there that he's having to get them started.
Sweet.
And then there's this pull between like the credit bid people that really want that to be done, and it's like, well, they're really loud, so maybe we should get that one done soon.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was coming, but if I'd easily probably put a couple $1,000s into credits if I could use them in bids. So and I imagine there's some people that would put more, because it's annoying right now. I wasn't buying DEC to do bids because I knew it was going to go down, and I'm like, I can't do like long-term, bids with an asset that's going to fall. Yeah. So that would be really cool. And then everybody, make sure you do follow Cryptomancer's channel. He's putting out some really good videos looking at analytics, showing you how to use tools, and just doing some really good things. So I hope that, it's tough. He's doing some of the best videos at one of the hardest times in crypto. So that's really a bummer. I should be back to my normal crypto content, especially Splinterland stuff, here in the next few days. I just, had a little battle with getting sick and then getting busy and then trying to play way too much spider tanks. So sorry about that. And hopefully that land I got him to purchase doesn't get me kicked off of anything, because Peak Monsters and Peak D are two things that I use every single day. So thanks you for, everything you do on those, man. They're very, very good platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is eagerly waiting all those features because they sound awesome, Jarvie. But I understand it takes a while to develop, and it's not easy. So thank you for all that's out there. Thanks for showing up here today, Cryptmancer, Steve as well. Appreciate you guys. This will be the end of the podcast. Thank you guys for watching. There is a giveaway in the chat if you want to guess the number between 1 and 100. But for now, we're gonna sign off. See you guys later, and thanks for watching.